or at least loping.
I don't run very well. I'm Nonyl Schmidt. I'm the pastor of Admiral Congregational Church in West Seattle. I'm from Hawaii, which is a very conservative conference. I was only the second openly gay pastor ever to serve in that conference. I am still to date the only openly gay person ever to serve an elected office in that conference. The year that I was moderator, the church that was supposed to hold the annual conference meeting refused to allow me in the building. That's wrong and that's offensive. Ironically, at that same annual meeting, our guest speaker was Hector Lopez, who was at the time the conference minister in Central Pacific Conference. And he talked about this. He served, his partner, his wife, served a fairly small Hispanic church that was not at all open and affirming. Hector talked about how proud he was, however, that the United Church of Christ really supported open and affirming, and he said, "Be patient with us smaller churches, but challenge us. Lead us in the right direction." I just so deeply in my soul believe that this resolution can do that for us. No, it is not telling a single church that you have to become open and affirming. No, it is not, or at least it had better not be, judging any church that isn't ready to do that. But I pray to God, quite literally, that this says to the world, we believe that everybody has a right to be a part of this church. We believe that every minister who has been called by God and ordained by the church has a right to be a minister in this church, and we have an obligation to say, come on in. So I really think we need to support this, and we need to be very patient with churches that aren't ready yet to catch up. So, thanks.
I'm Kathy Foreman. I'm a member of University Congregational United Church of Christ. Oh, closer. My name is Kathy Foreman, and I am a member of University Congregational, UCC. I would like to speak also to the question or the point of the person. I'm sorry, I didn't catch the name. The person, one person before Donald. I think it is really important that we look at the second, be it further resolved, because I think that it blurs a line of ownership that we don't actually, in my understanding of the polity, you don't have a right to cross. We are the annual meeting, the 2011 annual meeting of the UCC, of the Pacific Northwest Conference. This is our resolution, which we own. This is our voice. So I think that the wording should be similar to the fourth. Be it further resolved that the annual meeting of the Pacific Northwest Conference of the United Church of Christ encourages member churches. I think the second one really should read, be it further resolved that the annual meeting of the Pacific Northwest Conference of the United Church of Christ encourages or urges churches within the conference to continue a committed prayerful. I realize that that's in some minds that might be nitpicking the issue, but I think it's a very important difference to say the annual meeting is speaking. Churches speak for themselves. And I don't think that we have the right to say it the way it's worded now. I think we have every right to repeat the wording of the fourth.
Okay.
And
So
I say that in deep support for this resolution.
okay, hang on to that. I would like to hear the next three comments and then sort of see where the pleasure of this group is in moving ahead. We can go back to each of the therefore be it resolves and see if things need to be tweaked along the way. So Terry.
Hey Dennis, this is Terry Tigon from a member of Plymouth UCC. And I wanted to just basically at some point today say a word of thanks to a colleague. I can't remember the year when this resolution, similar resolution, was brought to the floor of the conference, and it was a very heated debate. I think it was the early 90s. Very heated, a lot of tension, a lot of difficult words were shared, and it went back and forth for quite a while. And finally, it was Jeff Spencer, who was, as I recall, and I may be wrong, but the first out gay pastor in our conference, who stood up and made the motion to table. And I always remember that. And Jeff and I worked closely over the years. He's now moved on to a different conference, but we've talked about that over time, and he just felt that it just, even though in his heart he wanted nothing more than to see our conference move forward, he felt that it wasn't the time, that we had to be patient and take the time that was needed. I just wanted to say a word of thanks to my gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgendered brothers and sisters for your patience for these years. It has been a long time. My own sense is that we are there as a conference. There may be particular congregations that aren't there, and I guess what we would have to say to our brothers and sisters there is we hope that you, in your own sense of things, in your own journey, can be patient as if the conference makes this decision to move forward, that you all can be patient in the same kind of dynamic of give and take that's gone on all these years. But I just wanted to say that thank you to Jeff Spencer and to all of you who have stood along with us and allowed this to unfold as it has.
Marie.
I'm Marie Fortune from Broadview Community Church. Actually, Terry, I would just add a little bit more perspective on your memory of that day. It was a heated day in 1991, 20 years ago. And actually, I was the first lesbian pastor to stand up in that meeting and come out. It was time in the conference for me to do that, and for others to subsequently do that, including Jeff, my dear colleague. And what I remember saying that day was, take all the time you need, but hurry. Because some of us are waiting. And it's 20 years later. And I'm very proud of my church, the United Church of Christ. Much has changed at the national, regional, and local level. And this is an open and affirming conference. And many of us feel that and know that in our experience. So I think all that's being asked today is, do we publicly witness as a conference to who we are with thanksgiving that we have been patient, but it's time.
Good morning. I'm Jason Boyd. I'm the pastor of Kirkland Congregational Church, and I speak to you in fear that I can never come up with something as brilliant as Peggy Skill's comment about the Joint Chiefs. But I'm going to try anyways. Before I came to Kirkland, I served as an interim assistant pastor at the First Congregational Church of Natick, and if you know where Natick is, it's in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the state where I was allowed to get this on my finger 3 years next month. In the mid-1980s, the Massachusetts Conference became, I believe, one of the first conferences that adopted an ONA resolution on its own. And Massachusetts has been steadfast in its legal support of equality in many ways, although they've dropped the ball on transgender issues. But even while they have done all these things legally, and even while they were among the first to declare themselves ONA, they are still barely at 20% of their churches having declared themselves open and affirming, which leaves this whole bunch that have not. Here in the Pacific Northwest Conference, Marcia, correct me if I get my stats wrong, we have a numeric majority of congregations which are already open and affirming, and 76% of the members of churches in the Pacific Northwest Conference are members of open and affirming churches. So we are ahead of the state, which was the first to grant equal marriage rights and one of the first to listen to what the National Synod asked us to listen to about open and affirming. History does not bear out that Massachusetts churches have been fleeing since the mid-80s when this was passed. And I would also ask everyone to take a look at the youth over there, and I don't believe any of you can claim you were born before 1985. Would I be correct? All right. most of you. Most of them do not know a United Church of Christ that did not have a national resolution on open and affirming. That is the church into which they were born. That is what they know. And I dare say we ought not tell them, oh, sorry, we're not going to affirm that here. So I want to commend Marcia and everyone who worked on this and ask you to help us catch up, because God's waiting for us.
Devontae? And I'd like these to be the last two comments before we move on.
Well, I'm just gonna say it's a little bit nervous up here. So.
Yeah. And who are you, and what is your local?
And I go to Wayside and Federal Way, ECC. And I just wanted to say, I feel like at Wayside we're open and affirming, and that it makes me feel like I can get up and know that however I come to church, I'm not going to be wrong or having to do something different. And I think that that feeling is like a big relief off of many people's shoulders. So I think that we should become an open and affirming conference, because a lot of people that don't feel like they're welcome at other places will be able to come here and feel welcome. Because sometimes waking up and knowing that you're welcome is the best thing that you can do to wake up. Because if you're not welcome, you feel like you're wrong or not doing something right. And to know that you are doing something right and that you are loved and that you are welcome is huge. And I think we should show that.
Pastor Jeffrey Lee Barker from Columbia Lakewood Community Church, United Church of Christ, and Church of the Brethren. And once again this year I want to address the glaring lack of racial justice and full employment for black folk in this conference and in our church. Now, you can pass any resolutions you want, but until I come to an annual meeting and I see more than one or two black clergy, men and women, it's more the same. It's more the same. And I've said it in years past. We have a saying back home in Southern Ohio, same as it ever was. We're not an open and affirming conference. From a working class black Southwestern Ohio perspective, it is a country club. Look around you, people. Pass the resolution, put it on the website, but ask yourselves this question tonight before you go to bed. What did you do for racial justice today, other than perhaps pass this? How many black folks are in your churches? How many black pastors have you ever had? How many black conference employees have ever worked up here? I've been working, worshiping, and living in this conference 20 years, 4 months, and 22 days. Not that I'm counting, but I am. When I got here in 1991, I remember a conversation with our great conference minister, Lynn Fitch. I had doubts about going through the ordination process. I had a conversation with both her and David Brown. I had doubts about the United Church of Christ denomination in this region. As I said, I'm from Dayton in Yellow Springs, Ohio. I had doubts about its commitment to being open and affirming. I had them then in 1991, 20 years, 4 months, and 22 days later. Things haven't changed that much. In this resolution, there is a glaring lack of a racial justice component for black folk and people of color. Read it, and then deal with it. Good day.